Oh, yate she Brandon William Francis Sinisha. Not otaneta chinishle do tutsot ni bashchin. A turchini dashe do kilchin dashanala. Shelchina eight hope baha. I see jitli jin de nasha. Kut bilashla ishla. My name is Brandon Francis. I am a farmer and corn planter from the Navajo Nation. I originally grew up on Black Mesa, Arizona, and I grew up um, how most Navajo people grew up. I grew up um, raising livestock, sheep, cows, goats, horses, and we also grew up growing corn, beans, squash, melons. We had apricot trees, and I was blessed enough to be raised in that lifestyle that my ancestors grew up in, practicing agriculture. And some of my earliest memories were from a cornfield or the sheep corral or being raised around horses. So I was blessed enough to learn a lot from my grandparents and my parents. And so my connection with agriculture is also a connection with water. I grew up on Black Mesa, Arizona, during an era called the Bennett Freeze, which means it was an area on Black Mesa where they were strip mining for coal. And so I grew up 30 miles off the main road on a dirt road many people haven't heard of. So I grew up without electricity or running water. So everything that we drank, we had to haul in for water. So that really taught me the value of water and planting and what planting requires a lot of water and being in sync with nature and knowing when to plant and what time to plant. And your animals also need a lot of water. But during that era of my life, they were extracting coal in a strip mining process, and they were slurrying it out of the area, which lowered the whole water table. So the natural springs and everything disappeared. So more and more we had to rely on hauling water. And we weren't able to rely on the natural um, hydrological cycle in our region. So, but then growing up, I did learn that we have a symbiosis not only with the animals, but also with the plants and the earth and the water. So every spring, when it came planting time, how we knew that it was going to be a good season and the springtime is that we would dig in the earth a little, and if the soil was wet, we knew that it was going to be a good planting season. But if it was mostly dirt, we would have to hold off and not plant that year. So, and more that we saw that it was drier and drier. And I didn't learn later all the terminology that goes along with water, but we planted according to the stars, and the stars called Dilyehe, which is the Pleiades, and which is what will let us know what time of year to plant. And so we'd plant, and at during the late May or early May, depending on the stars, and when the corn was coming up and tasseling and putting on ears of corn, the monsoons would come, and when the plants would need it most, and that's how our ancestors did it, and they were really in tune with their environment. And then when I went to school, I moved away from Black Mesa, and I still felt connected. That I felt that need to plant and grow things. So when I was learning about all this, and I getting my education in Colorado at Fort Lewis College, I saw how blessed that they were with all the water that was available. And because I grew up dry land farming, which was either hauling water or relying on washes or um, spring runoff and monsoon season. But it was there I learned um, that we were in the middle of a mega drought, which is And drought condition just means that we're receiving less than average precipitation. And the Four Corners region receives about 11 to 13 inches. So that means that for the last 20 years, going on 22 years, we've been receiving less than that. So right now we're in mega drought conditions. And this isn't the first time this has happened, but if you go back into the dendrochronological record, to the 11th and 13th century in particular, there was an event called the Great Contraction, which the ancient Puebloan people, as well as the Navajo people living in the area, went through mega droughts on the scale of 70 to 50 years, almost simultaneously. But our ancestors, they lived through those events, and this shows the resilience that we have.